thank you, Marco, for joining me today on All Things Business and Technology. I definitely am excited to let people know who you are, what you do, and your journey over the last 22 years in business and technology, from a co-founder into now VP of marketing. I think that whole transition was pretty nice to see. So thank you, Marco. And wanted to first start, what is your role at the company that you're at right now?
So I am the VP of marketing, Vice President of marketing at TradeStation. Marketing here at TradeStation is in charge of the whole process of acquisition, the branding, and the communications to customers.
Now, with this role right now, is there any big challenges that you're facing today?
A lot of challenges, like everybody. So let's say that TradeStation is an online broker-dealer, self-clearing online broker-dealer. What does it mean? We created sophisticated, highly customizable platforms and tools for sophisticated traders. We also provide institutional grade services to sophisticated traders, so very experienced, hyperactive traders. And the business model of the brokerage space, like some other financial services company, it's a little bit tricky. So in the past, in Ferrari, Maserati, in any other experience that I have in my life in business, the word conversion was the time you were able to convert a lead into revenue. And which is, if you're on a B2B, when you sign a contract, that's already revenue, because there's a contract. It's going to be payments. When you sell cars or shoes or clothes or whatever you're selling, there's a transaction that generates the revenue. In the broker-dealer space, the conversion is to make sure that somebody open an account, but they don't generate revenue at that point. If they deposit money, they might generate revenue if you have some decent interests, and you might generate some revenue, but it doesn't depend on you. It depends on the federal authorities if they allow us to have interest or not. The real revenue happens when the person starts to trade. So why is that a challenge? It's a big challenge from a marketing standpoint, because I grew up in the digital marketing world that you optimize your campaigns based on the capability of generating profitability or revenue. And here you have to get into more like a life cycle, lifetime revenue type of mindset, which doesn't work very well with the digital campaigns that are very fast in happening. People change the way they talk and the way they search in days or weeks, not in years. So that was my challenge in the first place, and we solved it thanks to a lot of data and some great usage of AI. So we developed a score. We call it first-year revenue estimate score. Basically, compare some information about the customers that they give us during the onboarding process and when they open an account with their behavior once they open the account. And we leverage AI to analyze the historical data of the last 20 years of trading with us and conversion with us. And we came out with this score, so which is now precise around 85%. What does it mean? That now I can optimize campaigns. Now I know by the time you finish your account, I have this predicting score that, again, right now works pretty well. They give us a pretty good understanding of what you could be. Now, the challenge is, now with having said that, and having said that our target base, it's very sophisticated, very high level. The other challenge that I had was that usually, let's say you want to sell Ferraris, there is some pretty easy profiling questions that you might have. And are the usual one, income, cars you already own, net worth. These are the usual social demographic questions that are very important when you sell some kind of luxury tools. In our case, sophisticated traders might be 25 years old with $50,000 in their portfolio, up to 70 years old with $50 million. So the variety of the sophisticated traders is so big that it's very difficult to leverage what today the advertising companies provide you as data. And so while I need to have a mindset profiling, this is something that today I'm working on, something similar to what we have done on the FIRE score, but I'm trying to predict or understand the mindset of people before they actually open the account with us. And
that's definitely interested that you're talking about what it has changed today and your mindset, knowing that in typical marketing, you create a profile, you know exactly what the buying cycle is and so forth, and then you had to come into something that's SEC regulated, governments tell you yes or no, and then the mind frame is completely different of who the buyer is. It could be someone on the low end or the high end. It doesn't really matter. Now, is this something that obviously you've been working on over the last 6 years and so forth? If we back up, when you came out of college, how did you start? You were in marketing for Maserati, correct?
I started with Ferrari, but actually my first job, when I got out of college, my first job, I don't know, it may be even in my LinkedIn profile, because I'm very proud of that. I'm still a very good friend of the family that owned the company. I started my career in accounting. I was an accountant as an intern. I was an accountant in New York for Diesel, the fashion firm, Diesel Jeanswear, and I worked there for about a year. That's where I met the marketing team and the marketing people, and I realized that, oh, marketing is much more fun than accounting. I want to be there. And but I brought with me the love and the passion for numbers and data that is typical of the finance, the accounting and finance world. And yeah, and then I started in Ferrari, and I worked there for a total, I think, of 5 or 6 years, part of it as an executive and part as a consultant and advisor. And always being in digital marketing and customer experience. That is my biggest passion. And it's lovely to be able to work and be paid to work on something you're passionate about.
Now you mentioned that you started at finance going into marketing. Is that what you always wanted to do? Obviously not marketing, that came to you after finance, but what was your first dream coming up?
I started in accounting and finance because that's where I was expected to be on that way, because I come from Italy. I'm Italian, and I come from a small town. My father had a large CPA firm, and that was the expectation. You know, it's a family business, but I really, really, really didn't like it that much. And so when I got the opportunity to be exposed to the world of marketing, especially at that time, Diesel was probably the most advanced and best marketing that there was anywhere else in the world. It was super, super advanced. And I fell in love. And then I decided, and immediately after I took my MBA, and during the MBA, I met Peter Drucker. Probably the young people don't know who he is, but Peter Drucker has been the guru of marketing and management back in the 90s. He wrote so many books, and he was my professor. And he opened the world to me. That he was like very critical person in moving me to find my career in marketing. And then for sure, you also have to be lucky, because then I got into Ferrari because they were asking for a very specific profile, something pretty new at that time. The first time that probably somebody used the word CRM, it was back in 2000. And that's how I got the job. And because I was doing, in that specific moment during the MBA, I was doing an internship with an aerospace company on building their customer database in CRM. So that's how I got in Ferrari, and it's been an amazing ride, because in Ferrari we had, as you can expect, very challenging company, very demanding, very a lot of ambitions, but at the same time, super fun.
Yeah, I mean, working for something like Ferrari, watching the growth of their company, the actual cars, how they're made, and being in there, I think by osmosis you learn quite a bit.
Yeah, it was amazing. One of the things that, for example, in the last 20 years, changed a lot of the technology to do it, but didn't change much the perception, is that when I was there, our goal was to be able to have one-on-one interactions, one-on-one personalized relationship with our customers. And if I think about it, 25 years later today, we're still talking about it. And the tools have changed. The tools have, it's much easier than it was in the past. But still, it's something that a lot of business are struggling with. And I realize in time, I have some gray hair. And in 25 years, I came up to the point where I know exactly the reason why. And the reason why is not the tools, because nowadays there are so sophisticated tools to do that. It's just a question of mindset. If you don't train your people to be able to sustain a one-on-one relationship with customers, you can have all the tools that you want, but you're not going to be able to use it and make it happen. So
Makes sense. Now when we're talking about that, training your people on using certain tools and mindset, is that something that you learned from your mentor or Peter Drosy? What was that made you change your mindset? Not just age, obviously, we learn as we go, hopefully. Was it a mentor that taught you that, or did you learn it early?
I learned it in time. So I've been in the Italian army for a couple of years, and I was an officer. And not the usual army, but the Alpine Army, which is the army on the mountains. We were used to provide mostly service and help for floods, earthquakes, and things like that. Similar, if you want, a little bit similar to the firefighters, and here in the States, or the National Guard, internal. And the difficult part of it was that I had 300 soldiers under me that had to do the service, because in Italy at that time was compulsory, was mandatory, the service. While I was a volunteer as an officer, I went through the academy. They were there because somebody told them to be there. That's probably the most difficult relationship of leadership you can have, because you have to convince people who don't want to do what you're asking them to do it. And that's where you learn some of the basics of mentorship and training and motivation, which especially now becomes very important, especially if you look at the speed of introduction of technology, introduction and adoption, it's getting crazy. So I worked on my first website before the end of the 90s. Then we got 2.0 at, well, it was 2007, 2008, started the whole process of 2.0 and social media. And then we got in 2020, 2018 to 2020, we got to Web 3.0. Then 22 the explosion of the cryptocurrencies on the blockchain and all the applications on the blockchain. Then we got AI, and then and we keep having faster and faster introduction and adoption of technology. Now that is a question, that is a very very dangerous problem for a lot of businesses, because I hear executives or managers saying, if my employees don't evolve themselves, then I can choose new ones. I don't agree with that, because a lot of the people that I have on my team, not only myself, but the whole company invested money on them. They are assets. They're not just commodities. They are assets. We invested in teaching, coaching, and creating a role for those people, and these people are creating value for the company. There's no way you can leave them behind. You have to train them, and in order to train them, you have to motivate them. If you give them the right motivation and the right passion, the right excitement, then, and this is a personal work that as a leader you have to do all the time. I spend a lot of time talking to my team, and that's why for me, when I'm not able to drive somebody to be what I expect a person to be, that for me is a big failure. That's probably my biggest failure. When I don't get there, I really suffer.
So if we talk about biggest failures, one of your biggest failures is making sure that your team isn't going to fall behind, and you are able to coach and mentor them. Let's go to the personal life. What's one of your biggest failures?
Personal life. But it's also one of the lessons that you learn in life. I think in my personal life, I got divorced, and my kids were still quite young, and that was probably a very tough moment, because especially if you have values around a family and how a family should be, and how is your role as a father, etc., that creates a lot of trouble and a lot of thoughts. But I went through that, and actually it was a great lesson. I learned a lot, and now I'm happily married again.
So you learn by keeping going.
Yeah.
Now, we talked earlier about your father being one of the influences in your life. And when you talked about it, it was more about the family business and so forth, which is always good. Is he the most influential person in your life, or do you have a couple of people?
So, there's let's say, if I have to answer, the most influential person in my life is for sure my wife. Today is my wife. We share a lot of things together. She is a compulsive trader. So as you can imagine, I work in a brokerage dealer, and I've been a trader myself too. So you don't want to be in the conversation at our home in the evening. So I always make a joke that if I go home with 12 roses and I tell my wife I love you, she's not going to be as happy as if I come home and say, hey, how were your trades today? So and that's the usual joke that we have among us. But in general, I'm a very curious person. I listen a lot to what people say around me, even if sometimes they don't know that I'm listening. And the reason for that is that every comment, every feedback, every thought is has the potential of being a great idea. And some of the best ideas that I had in my business came from conversations that I was part of or I listened to. And so if I have to say some of the most influential persons in my life, I have so many that I can name, probably most of the people that I know. But if I have to say the most influential, the person that I trust the most, that I listen the most, that's my wife.
Yeah, that's a good one, and especially since you learned your lesson from
Fun.
before. So she'll be happy to hear that. Now, if we go back into like some of the things that you did early on in your marketing career, and the education that you got, what are some of the steps that you took to get to where you are today?
A very, very interesting question. For I think what drove my career was was the passion for what I was doing. Which in some cases helped, in some other not. What does it mean? Some cases you get well paid and you get great positions and great jobs in great companies, and you can do what you love. Sometimes to do what you love, you end up in toxic places with toxic people, and you don't get the rewards you expect for it. So I learned my lesson there to be much smarter in selecting the places where I want to be and the companies where I want to be. One rule always followed me in all those places. I go only where I know that I can learn something new. If I see that the balance between what I give and what I take is in favor of the other part, dramatically in favor of the other part, I don't like to go there. And that's how I moved in my career. And that was also the reason why I founded and then sold but stay in the business, the boutique consulting firm that I had, was that we had top customers, great companies, Fortune 500 companies, and it was with amazing projects. And imagine how much did I learn in those years working for Barilla, Luxottica, Ferrari, Juventus, and you name it. All these great companies, and you go there and you know people, and these people are smart, and they always there's always something that you can learn new that you didn't know, new processes, new business models, new marketing tactics, and it's been an amazing ride. The problem at one point became that if you're not, you have to sacrifice something. That's what happened to me. You have to sacrifice in that case. It happens to sacrifice the family because you're sent all over the world to to address a wide range of problems and solutions, and then you create trouble in your own turf. But I think that piece is the learning piece is what drove, and this is also the reason why I landed into TradeStation, because trading has been always something that I ran on the side, not as passionate and driven like my wife, but something that I enjoyed and liked, especially understanding. And at that time, TradeStation also had the crypto business, which we don't have anymore. So I took that as a great opportunity to learn, because I thought, I can give my long experience in marketing, customer experience, data monetization, you name it, all the things that I love to do. But at the same time, I'm going to learn a lot on how the financial world works, because I didn't know the details, and I'm still learning. I've been here for what, 5 years and a half. I'm still learning a lot. Every time I talk to somebody, there's a whole world of things that I have to learn. It's huge, and it's amazing.
Now, I love this, hear the passion of how things have evolved from you, from starting in finance because of the family, and then you went into marketing because that was a lot fun for you. And then ultimately you're at a place where you've always been interested in trading. Now that wasn't ever probably your goal is to be a day trader or anything like that. But now you get to go ahead and enjoy some of the things that you have built up to that. What you're doing today, is this what you would continue doing? What would you do different Lee, if you just said, hey, money's not an option, I'm going to go out and do X?
I love my job. I really love my job. I love, this is my passion. This is what sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, and I go to the computer and just take notes, and my wife is getting crazy. So what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm having fun. Don't worry, I'm having fun. And then I try to go back to sleep, but still the idea is spinning in my mind. So that's where you know that this is really what you're passionate about. And I'm glad that I was able to take that turn, professionally speaking, and get into this role and get so passionate. I think I got it also in the right time, because I joined just in time to experience and to start and experience the digital marketing world, which is much more fun than the traditional. So I think that if I started 10 years earlier, maybe I would have not been as passionate about it as I am today. Thinking about standing on a trade show for 5 days for 12 hours a day, that would have not been so pleasant, and I would have not be so passionate about it.
That's so awesome to hear. Because I think one of the sayings as we were growing up, follow your passion and the money will come. And to see the passion come through our conversation today, we could tell that you're following your passion and you're also getting the money that you deserve as you follow those. As we get closer to wrapping up this call, there's a couple of questions I like to ask, and one of them is, as people are getting into your industry, what are some of the top 3 books that you would recommend?
Let's say the top 3 books that I personally that I read. You mean from a marketing standpoint or in general financial industry?
Well, you have pretty much 2 careers. You have
Yeah,
the
I would say in the marketing world, which is my deep passion, especially customer experience, I would say, rather than just marketing. There's 3 books that I love. And I start from in order of time, I start from the first one. The first one is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's how the human brain works. And it's a very interesting way to understand how the mind of people work when they interact with objects or ideas or images, and how in general our brain works in making decisions. And it's very helpful from a marketing standpoint. I read a lot about neuroscience because it's what we do as marketers. We try to influence the way people think and perceive. The second one is The Molecule of More by Daniel Lieberman, I think. And The Molecule of More talks about dopamine. And dopamine is one of the key things in creating feelings, perceptions, and emotions in our brain. So it's a natural prosecution of the work of Daniel Kahneman, but it's more scientific, more related to the chemistry of what happened in our brain. And it's pretty interesting over there too, because this is science. So it's not just a series of concepts. This is real science on how to generate and what are the dopamine and what are the impacts of dopamine. And finally, a book that I just finished to read, super exciting. I'm gonna read it second time. Same thing as I did with the Harari books. This is Superconvergence by Jamie Metzl. It's a book about how genetics, AI, and robotics are gonna change the landscape of our life in the next 10 to 15 years. I'm gonna have the pleasure to meet the guy because I'm organizing an event in Miami on November 21st and 22nd with several economists and great writers and influencers. And Jamie is one of the speakers. So I'm gonna take my book with me and make it signed.
those are really good books. I know the first two, and it's not just for a marketer. I think that in business,
Yeah.
in IT, those are all books that you really need to get into. Understanding your customer is really key. How you build something for the customer is key. So I haven't heard about the third one, but I definitely, now that you mention it, I am definitely going to read that one.
Awesome.
As we close this meeting today, one of the questions is, and this is important in a sense of like understanding people's mindset. What's one question that you wished I asked and why? And then what's your answer to it?
I think no, you ask that a little bit of question. So I would say the reason of all these moves in different industries, but I think I answered already to that. Was not specifically asked, but that would be a question. Another question could be, where do I see us in 10, 15, 20 years? That is something that I'm thinking exactly in these days after I'm reading the book from Jimmy Metzel. I have the feeling that we're going to get to a place, at least I'm talking about the brokerage space and the fintech industry, where people will be able to, through AI, to self-build their trading applications and trade according to their style. And this is already happening. Some of our best customers are people who develop their own application platforms and charts and connect with that through APIs. So that is already happening. What does it mean is that there's going to be a pretty big revolution on the way you serve these people and the type of products and support and service that they're going to need from you. So that's a pretty big revolution that I see happening in the next probably 5 to 10 years.
That's a big one. And yeah, we didn't go into the AI span of things today, but I do want to thank you for joining today. And I'm sure we're definitely going to have this conversation again. Because the passion that you have, the joy that I see in your face with the day to day, I think the consumers need to understand why you have that much passion.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Marco. You have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you'll tune in next time. For more information on how we can help your business, check out our website at sigmaways.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please send me a message with any topic or questions you want me to cover. Also, if you're in the world of business and technology, I would love to have you as a guest. Please hit the like and subscribe button below and stay up to date on the next video. Once again, I'm David, and this is All Things Business and Technology. Cheers.